Welcome to the Stoned Heen View, a podcast series which interviews a range of sport club representatives and leading professional sport club personnel during the COVID-19 shutdown. We find out what these people are doing during the current health crisis with some of our most popular sports seasons postponed. I'm Mark Heenan, and today we're going to speak to a special guest who is an Australian-based open water swim king and a state and national title winner and a 7-time Pier to Pub champion, Sam Sheppard. Now, Sam, thanks for joining us on this special podcast today. We are coming to you. This is actually episode 40 of our podcast, so we reached a little bit of a milestone. But you're coming to us what you'd normally be a busy time for you in the lead up to open water swims around the region, particularly Melbourne and the Surf Coast and those sorts of things. So thanks for joining us on the podcast.
Yeah, no worries. Thanks for having me.
No, not a problem. So I wanted to talk to you today a bit about what you're involved with. Obviously, this situation that comes to being at the moment, we are in the middle of a COVID situation, and you are leading the charge in terms of, I suppose, open water swims, but also having a virtual component to that. You've just completed a Portsea virtual component, which obviously you can't run the Pier to Pub this year. How was that?
Yeah, so, like all these swims, it's kind of, with all COVID, it's not just swims, it's every event. So they've all been cancelled. And I suppose the surf clubs are just trying to get on board to get people in the water swimming safe and also a bit of fundraising. But yeah, I've done the Pier to Pub virtually already, just down at Portsea, because I've spent a lot of time down there. I'm actually back in Melbourne at the moment. But yeah, it was just leisurely. Like, it's quite, to be honest, it's quite a good break. I've been enjoying myself a fair bit, not doing any ocean swims this summer, and just really just surfing and enjoying myself, and just going for the casual open water swim in the morning. Like, so I've found it quite relaxing, not, I suppose, swimming Lorne Pier Pub or Danger 1000 or any of those, because I've just been going for swims, going out for having beers each night, maybe not quite each night, but just really enjoying myself over summer. And personally, I've found it really enjoyable, and just going for nice, easy open water swims in the morning. No, none of that stress thinking, I have to be fit. Everyone kind of expects me to win. I'm getting a bit older these days, so I never now expect myself to win. And it's more just for the enjoyment and being in the water. But yeah, it's a bit of a different situation, but I'm sure they'll all be back come next summer.
Your connection to, obviously, the Surf Coast, you have, your family is particularly involved with, not only you being a nipper or former nipper from the Jan Juck Surf Lifesaving Club, but you have, I suppose, a real connection to, obviously, the Pier to Pub, and you've won it 7 times. But is there a sense of sort of missing something this year because of the COVID cases, you may have not been down there as much, and they've had the ring of steel between, Geelong and Melbourne. But I mean, how does that sort of feel with you, like with the family involvement that you have, not only with the Pier to Pub, but the connection that you have to sort of the Surf Coast region?
Yeah, well, growing up down on the Surf Coast, and now I'm in Melbourne actually at the moment. During the COVID lockdown, I was actually living down at Blairgowrie at the in-laws beach house. So I had it pretty good. I was very, very fortunate in that, and I was just able to work from home pretty much as normal. So, and I was only 50 metres away from the beach, so I was going for open water swims almost each day. But yeah, it kind of is that you are correct, more so in the sense of don't have these events on each weekend, like the Pier to Pub. It's just a great summer tradition, really, down at whether you're a weekend warrior or you're trying to win it. It's just a great summer tradition that you'd come down and be all bustling down at Lorne, really for that whole weekend. And well, it is pretty busy down at Lorne at the moment. But yeah, you kind of lose those big summer events, and like we also saw before summer in spring with no fun runs, you kind of miss all those events which bring that atmosphere. So that's a bit of a disappointment in it, but like everyone's picking up with regional, I suppose, tourism. They're all getting down to Lorne, and everyone's getting down to Lorne and swimming back from the pier, or swimming down to the pier, jumping off the pier and swimming back. So I don't think that's lost in that sort of sense. But yeah, you are correct in the sense of like there isn't that kind of summer event, that summer feel with it, but everyone is still enjoying themselves. So that's kind of my spin on it. And yeah, I will be looking forward to when everything comes back next year.
Is Lorne a spiritual place for you? And with not so much just a pier to pub, but when you go to an event like that, is it like having like a third or fourth family? Because you've had such a rich history in that event, but the region itself, is it sort of like coming home in some ways? Like, have you got a real spiritual belonging to Lorne and that pier?
Oh, not really. Like I've done a lot of it. I've raced internationally for Australia. I've done a lot of events and a lot of other accomplishments compared to the pier to pub. So like I've got international medals, been to world champs, done a lot of that sort of stuff outside of Lorne. So yeah, even though I'm known for that down there, like I spent a lot of time up on Queensland racing up there. So it's a special place, but I only ever wanted to really win one Lorne Pier to pub. It's not so much the winning that means much to me, or after I won one, I was happy. But then you realise it's just about the catching up with friends when they come down and having a beer, and that's the most important thing of it. So it's kind of that you miss out on. So that's how I'd put it. It's the same. It's a bit of water that I've raced in the whole time, but then probably the most important thing about Lorne Pier to pub, and same with a lot of these events, is you're just able to catch up with mates, maybe go out for a bit of a feed afterwards. And I think that's the whole, I suppose, benefit of all these events, or the main part that I really, really enjoy, is the socialisation of it. Unfortunately, we've lost this year. Yeah, it's kind of just always been that place where I could catch up with friends each year after the Pier to pub.
In terms of your open water swimming career, and I get that you've sort of had a different focus, particularly now with your when you finished your university degree and then you went on and to full-time work, and you sort of had to make that call, like I'm swimming for the fun of it, even if I'm winning events. That's all important to me. But the win that you had, the debut win that you had at the Rottnest Channel Swim, I should say, over in WA, it was almost 20 kilometres. I mean, if you look at your open water swimming achievements, yes, you've achieved a lot. And it's not obviously just the pier to pub. It's, all these other events in Portsea, the Danger 1000. You're a multiple winner and all that sort of thing. Where does that Rottnest Challenge Swim rank with you in terms of what you've achieved in open water?
Well, that one was a bit different compared to Lorne. So my main event wasn't the 1 kilometre pier to pub. It wasn't your 400-metre surf race. It was the 10-kilometre marathon swim that I just missed Rio for. And then, like, I went to world champs at 5K open water and 25K open water. So they're like your top open water athletes in the world. Like, it's the next level. It's international. It's world champs. Like, with the Rottnest Channel Swim, I'd always wanted to swim it for a long time, but I'd always had other commitments. I was always overseas. Racing at World Cup wasn't on the radar compared to Lorne. Even though I never trained for it specifically, when I was up in Queensland or when I was training down in Melbourne, I could easily make the nip down for the weekend. Compared to the Rottnest, 20K wasn't really on my horizon. I went over there in, I think, 2018. My dad did it solo, and a few of his mates also did it solo. I just did it as a team, which I highly recommend. It's enjoyable. Then afterwards, I'd stopped swimming properly in 2016. I was like, I reckon I could, and I'd wanted to do it solo previously. I was like, I reckon I could go pretty well in this. This is me after a few drinks. And then, so this is after I'd done it as a team. And the following November, I was like, a few people asked, so you're going to do it solo? I was like, maybe. So then I actually had to get back into some pretty hard training. That was kind of special to me in the sense of when I was training all the way from, say, 2009 to 2010, I was just studying part-time and being an athlete, which is pretty easy, realistically, compared to when I was training for Rotto in 2019. That was my only goal, win that. But I was also working full time. I'd travel with work, so I'd fit it all in that. So, and I was swimming pretty quick. So yeah, that was kind of, then to win that was just kind of a swim that I really want to just say I could have won it before. And then I actually went back this year again before COVID started in Feb 2020 and did it as a team, which a team's a lot more enjoyable than doing it solo, but I was very much happy with myself in the sense of, yep, you know what, I'd been wanting to do this for a while and I've finally been able to win it. But more importantly, I was able to win it with still working full time, still having a social life. So I was pretty busy for 2-3 months. I wouldn't recommend it, but I was able to reach my end goal. So I was pretty happy with all that.
Yeah, obviously, just looking at your history and how you sort of warm up for swims, and this is a little bit about some of the techniques, and you've written a lot of programs as well. You're an Australian Dolphin number 763, obviously 7-time winner of the pier to pub. So according to a program here that you write, or that you start off with a steady 400-meter warm-up, there's a drafting 500 meter with the pack and changing leaders, pacing 500 meters for 30 strokes, 20 easy to work on being able to pace and accelerate, and then finish in and out. And obviously with your Nipper background, but also your surf lifesaving background, when you've got out of the beach, you've been able to use that run up the beach to sprint if anyone's got close to you, and you've been able to win races. I mean, how much do you abide by that? And
yeah, I think that must have been one of like the training sessions I'd written for different people. Like, there's no point me just keeping all my knowledge locked up. Like, my warm-ups for that, like those sort of races are similar, but it just depends on what the race is. So that would have been a training session I would have written for someone, which, yeah, it's working on your main open water skills. But I would say a Lorne Pier to pub, my warm-up's normally just swimming down to the pier easy, or with a bit of pace work. So it all just depends on the conditions. So if it's really, really cold conditions and like you're not wanting to get in the water, I'd probably do a land warm-up. But if it's good conditions and you're like, oh, you know what, I won't get that cold, then I'd definitely get in the water and do some sort of warm-up with that. More, not so much the drafting, but really just working on hitting my paces and then working out, oh, is there a run up the beach or is it a different sort of finish? How you have to tag a touchpad. So if you're running up the beach, okay, what sort of potholes are there? How long's the run? So I'll just go through those kind of little technical things so you know you can put it all together if needed at the end.
now, talk about your family, because I understand, I'm not sure if it was the situation around COVID. I think your dad was training to do the English Channel, as in the swim there, and you've obviously got 3 older sisters. And you talked about on a previous podcast that was one of your goals for 2020. Did it eventuate?
Nah, so he's just postponed the English Channel to 2022, and that because 2021 is not going to happen. And well, I don't know, I'm just assuming it's not. And so he just postponed it there. He's always been kind of surf life-saving, open water swimming background, more surf life-saving. Since I kind of stopped in, 2016, he's now probably been swimming more than me. He's got that kind of penciled in. And then my sisters just swim. Like, I convinced them all to swim the Pier to Pub Wars in 2017, kind of as a family, so all 6 of us. I was at 2016. He actually swam from Fisho's at Cozy all the way to Point Road Night for 20K. So he's done his fair share of different stuff. So I'll head over and support him in 2022 when he goes and does English Channel. Just, it doesn't really interest me at the moment, but if I can support him, he always supported me with all my swimming when I was younger. So
hey, that's interesting, isn't it? When you talk about the rot nest and the second time you did that, and how you have a team swim. Can you have a family swim? Could you have a Sheppard family team members that do the rot nest? Or
yeah, so that's the great thing about the Rotto swim. Like, you've got, because it's 20K, like, it's a fair way. You've got either solos, duos, or teams. So I've done it once as a solo, twice doing it as a team. The team's a lot more enjoyable, personally. Yes, you get the self-gratification. If you do it as solo, swimming 19.7K, like, it's a great achievement. But from a personal enjoyment perspective, swimming Rottnest as a team is just you get to hop in and out of the boat as many times as you want. It's not like you swim 5K, 5K, 5K. You can rotate every 5 minutes, every 15 minutes. So you can have 15 minutes of the water, 45 minutes out of the water. So yeah, I think my family definitely will do it one year, 4 of us, but in a safe, enjoyable manner.
One thing about this podcast is talking about what people have been doing during COVID. And obviously you said that you've been sort of based a fair bit down in Gippsland. And there's one thing about that, obviously hearing that you actually did a open water swim, I think at Hazelwood, once upon a time. And tell me what the water quality's like in and around there.
Yeah, bring back Hazelwood. That's where I swam. So people who don't know Hazelwood Pondage, pretty much this lake that was heated by Hazelwood power plant before it shut down, and it was 24 degrees all year round. So you had people wakeboarding on it, and the lake was actually pretty clean. Had a bit of sediment in it, but so that's where like the Victorian Open Water Championships used to be. So it was the 5 and 10 kilometres. So that was where I did my first 10 kilometre back when I was 15. So that's kind of, yeah, it's a great area, and all around Gippsland's great open water swimming. So yeah, I don't know. Yeah, I'm sure there might be a few people listening to you who've swum at Hazelwood, but yeah, I think it stopped being heated 5-6 years ago. So yeah, you can't really swim in it anymore. Yeah, it brings back good memories.
What's the most exotic sort of open water swim destination that you've ever swam? I mean, obviously you've gone overseas, competed, not just obviously not I'm not talking about pool destinations. I'm talking about, like, the open water environment. We know that, Lorne is one of the largest open water competitions in the world, but in your case, you've gone to places like Japan, and you've probably done these trips that you've never even thought would be humanly possible if it wasn't for your talents and your passion for swimming?
Yeah, so you do get to, I suppose, see part of the world. Like, I was traveling for like 4 years racing. I was probably overseas for like 3 months a year. But like, you can't get past. You've got places like Cancun, like racing there off Cozumel, which sounds great. But then just also racing in fresh lakes in Canada. So like, you're swimming in lakes in summer, which they're probably about 20 degrees. But you get told in winter that they just freeze over and you can drive cars on them. And you've got great rolling hills on either side. So they're probably like, from a not so much tropical point of view, but just like wilderness kind of pretty epic places. They're probably my favourite. So yeah, they're kind of tight. Then I've swum in like Russia, China, US, all around there, and Europe. So you get to see some amazing parts of the world. And I suppose the benefit of that, like with open water compared to the pool, every location is different compared to with a pool. Every pool's the same, and even if you do get to see a bit of the city, you are kind of spending a lot of time just back and forth from the pool.
Do you also have, like, I mean, I know you've written programs and diaries for other people to follow, but is there a sense during the COVID situation that have you had to sort of write maybe a COVID safety plan, not so much for other people to watch, but even how you train? And I notice that you do a lot of training. You've done like a lot of other training outside the pool, whether it's, maybe with a medicine ball and those sorts of things. What does a COVID swimming routine involve, and how do you alter it, even just going to the pool or doing the open water?
Well, yeah, I think everyone's kind of been kind of affected by COVID with your training, especially if you're in Victoria, Melbourne, or places that had longer lockdowns. And it's more just adapting to what you have. Like, I haven't personally got back in the pool that much because the pool near me, I don't swim in a squad anymore. I'm not that committed, but it's only open to the public for 50 minutes, which is like, well, I'm not going to do that. So I've just been staying swimming in the ocean. But yeah, you've really got to mix it about. Like, I know a lot of swimmers were getting out on the bikes and everything, doing a bit of running, but it's just really being adaptive to what you have around you. So if you were lucky enough when there was the 5K lockdown to be within 5K of the beach, then you're one of the lucky ones. If you weren't, then you kind of had to get your fitness from either doing a bit of running, a bit of cycling, just I suppose more of those land-based activities, just keep that aerobic capacity up. Like, so going forward, even though they might, whether you're a weekend warrior or if you're a 40 or 50-year-old and all you've done is just swim in the pool, hopefully then with COVID, you'll be like, I did a lot of cycling or running during my lockdown. I'll add that in moving forward as well. Or, hey, I've put in a few more open water swims because there's been a lot of, I suppose, different articles on different news sites about, I suppose, blogs or whatever you want to call it, on people really getting in and embracing that open water swimming.
What was the land-based activities particularly? I mean, I know you're talking about running and cycling, but what was the environment like around Blair Gowrie, particularly when you're in that hard, like the whole state was in that lockdown? What was something that Sam Sheppard was doing?
I was doing a lot of running and also a lot of paddle boarding. So had my paddle board, so I was doing a lot of that. So that was kind of my main fitness. So my running got reasonably good. Like, I did cross country when I was at school. I did that till I was 18. So my running got a bit better. Still terrible compared to an actual runner.
I noticed that you've done the Bell's Bash too quite a bit.
Yeah, like Bell's Bash was always just something for me to do. Like, that's a standard running track that I'd run for my parents when I'm down at Torquay. So I just run up to Bells and back. It's, like 7K all up. It's a nice little loop. It got a bit difficult when I need to buy new runners, and I don't really want to buy runners online, so I had to wait till everything opened up.
Hey, let's talk a bit of banter. So obviously, when you moved to the Gold Coast a number of years ago, your partner said to you at the time, listen, Sam, if you don't move to the Gold Coast, and obviously, I know there was the disappointment about not making the Rio Olympics, but she said, I'm going to dump you. You must move to the Gold Coast. And tell me about how you met your partner. Like, we've spoken before about, like, you might be nervous before you start, or and you actually vomited in the pool. Can you just recall those experiences?
It was kind of along those lines, but not really. She was just being pretty forceful in the sense of, hey, you got 2 years till Rio trials, that kind of sense. So it's like, and my coach, he had moved away from Melbourne. So I was like, okay, what do I do? She's like, well, if you want to have a crack at it, you kind of got to go now, or you probably just, I don't want to say give up, but that was what she was saying. So, and she's been to 2 Olympics, so she went to Beijing and London. So you've always got to she's got that much experience. So you've got to listen to the people close around you. So, yeah, I moved up to the Gold Coast and had that, I suppose, long distance relationship, which was hard. Yeah, it was just good having her support in that sort of sense. So, yeah, I was very, very lucky to have someone like her just in my circle supporting me. And then moving forward with I always used to get nervous, not so much these days, nervous with races, whether that was vomiting in the pool or vomiting before I dive in, just from nerves. And it's more common than you think. And then it just took me a while, different sports psychologists, different that, try to deal with it, because it's not a bad thing, but you just don't want to get too nervous where it's impacting your actual performance. If you find out that, oh, okay, it's not impacting my performance, then to be honest, I couldn't care. But even if it's like, if impacting my performance like 1%, well, it's like, okay, I need to get these nerves that little bit under control.
Is the nervousness or that anxiety ever, like in any of those open water swims, is it the pressure that you put on yourself, or do you feel is it the external pressure that people expect you to perform and win?
No, it's always the internal pressure. Like, I think no matter your results, it's just sport. It's, if you win a race next week, people have forgotten about the race. If I win a race or lose a race, my family's still going to love me. It's that kind of, if I win it, I get 10 grand. If I lose it, I don't. Everyone, you're doing it for yourself. And that's really where the pressure comes from. It doesn't come from anyone else, because you know that they don't expect anything from you. It's like, oh, Sam Sheppard's going to win this. It's like, well, yeah, you can think that, but if I've done the training, yeah, I will. But if I know I haven't done the training, well, I can't expect to win anyway. So
yeah, you don't have that expectation.
Yeah, it's definitely internal pressure rather than what other people really put on you, because you just can't think about those things.
Now, as we wrap up, obviously, when I met you a few years ago, I was able to appoint you as an ambassador for one of the first the debut open water swim at Ocean Grove Surf Lifesaving Club, or Ocean Open Water Swim there. Now, you have, when I met you, you had like a schedule of a lot of your swims or what you're planning. And obviously, there was that goal to do Rottnest. I mean, are things still up in the air because it's 2021 and we haven't, obviously got a vaccine for COVID yet? And as I said, this is what the podcast is a little bit about. I mean, you've been involved in a lot of club swimming, even up in Melbourne. I mean, what does 2021 look for you? You're competing or you're participating in these virtual swims. What are we going to see from you in 2021 as a whole year around sort of swimming?
To be honest, probably not much. That's probably just a frank answer. But no, I've got a few things in the works, more just a few different open water swims with friends you might see pop up, but they're just in the work. A couple of different adventure swims with people all around Victoria, see how they go. And then to be honest, it's as much as anyone else knows, just keep fit. Jump in the open water and enjoy it. There's not going to be really, I've entered one swim, the Portsea Swim Classic swimming occurring this year. So I've entered that, but that's also on the same weekend as my birthday celebration. So
is that the big 3-0, is it?
It is the big 3-0 actually. So I'm getting old. So I don't honestly know. And I think that's the same with a lot of people. If you're an elite athlete, you've got your ideas of what's going to happen, because if you're going for Tokyo, you're kind of scheduled for that. But if you're just a weekend warrior, someone like me now, like I'm in the water 2, 3, 4 times a week, and that helps me just keep up my fitness. So if I do have a goal or something comes up, I could just be like, okay, I'm going to put in 6 weeks hard training. I get to a pretty good fitness.
I'm trying to create a surfing analogy here. Like, you get guys like Mick Fanning or people that want to surf at completely different destinations, whether, I don't know, could be Alaska or Antarctica. Are you an adventurer and explorer in that sense, where you want to swim where not many people have actually swam before? Or
yeah, I've got a few things like that, I suppose. Yeah, you call adventure places. Like, a lot of places have been swum. You look back through, if you know your open water, I suppose, history or just knowledge of swimming around Victoria or Australia, a lot of places have been swum. But no, I do have a few places that I'd like to swim, tick off, that I know no one's swum at. But yeah, I'll just keep that to myself, because you don't want to let these things out in
of
case
course,
you don't.
I didn't expect you to name those locations on a podcast, that's all. But I think because of what's happened in our world and the fact that a lot of these events have been cancelled or they're in a virtual format, I want to know what motivates Sam Sheppard as a open water swimmer, and whether having a desire to create, you've also, a lot of people don't know this too, is that you've been on the event side as well, and you've done commentating, and you've done a lot of things in swimming. I mean, someone that I know and we had an involvement with was with Lehman Petrie, all but who might be listening out there, and hello to Liam, that you were in the event side as well, and the event management side of the swimming. So there's many facets to Sam Sheppard, not just the 7-time Pier to Pub winner and all the medals and trophies that you've won. But I just want to know what during this time ticks and motivates you. Is it that sort of adventuring and exploring of swimming?
Yeah, it is. And I do have a few adventure, I suppose, different swims there around the kind of like 10 kilometre mark in different locations that I have planned, but they're all very much open water swimming. To do these kind of things safe, it's all weather dependent. So even if you plan it for a certain date, even if you have 2 or 3 dates set out for 1 year, you mightn't actually get it done because it's just not safe to do it. So that's why everything's always up in the air. If you do want to swim in some of these open water locations that people haven't swum in, you kind of have to be very, I suppose, not rushed with it, because you can't, even if you want to swim in this one location, you might only have good weather 10 times throughout the summer, and it's just picking that. Does it fall in with work? Okay, what sort of logistics do you need to get done with it all? So there's a lot that goes in if for those people that want to do those adventure swims. It's like the English Channel. How it works over there is you have like a week slot that you can be able to do your swim in with the ideal conditions. So you're waiting for a week. So once you get those good conditions, then you go. But so you've got that whole week flexibility that you lock out for yourself, along with, like, you could go at the pitch of, a lot of people go at night. Like, I know some people will leave at like 7 at night, arrive there at like 3 a.m. over in France, and you've just been swimming all at night with a floodlight on you. So not quite that enjoyable if it's all during the night. If you leave during the night and get the sunrise, great. So with all these sort of swims, there's a lot of planning that has to go into them to, one, make them safe, but then finally they are weather dependent. So like anything, if you're surfing, the surf's no good, it's not going to happen.
Hey, Sam, I wanted to thank you for being on the Stoned Heen View. It's been episode 40. I really appreciate your time, and good luck, obviously, heading into the open water again and when the events kick up. So really appreciate your time.
Yeah, no worries. Thanks for having me.
No worries. You can get in contact with a guest from Mind in Sport. You can check out the Stoned Heen View on Facebook and type it into Facebook and Instagram. We're also on Apple Podcasts and Spotify, and our launching platform is Podbean. And we're also on the YouTube channel, and we've also got a Twitter account. So the Twitter account is at Stoned Heen View. And till next time, we'll speak to you soon. This has been the summer series for the Stoned Heen View podcast. We'll talk to you soon on the Stoned Heen View, and thank you for your time. And I hope you've had a great new year. Thank you.